Okay, so a while ago now I did a video on what cases from Raspberry Pi 4 fit the Raspberry Pi 5, and one of the ones I mentioned at the time was the Nespi 4 case, and as you can see, compatible with Raspberry Pi 4, but will it fit the Raspberry Pi 5? So let's have a look inside, because the bit that I foresaw problems with was definitely the cooler. So the cooler is an aluminium heatsink which fits onto the Pi 4. So that bit is out. So I might as well unplug this little fan adapter here. But I think the rest of it is going to be okay because the official cooler is very, very low profile. The fan is connected directly to the Pi. So I think all of the rest of it is going to be okay. This goes on the GPIO pin, so this will be interesting. And the little SATA USB drive will also be interesting. So basically you can put a 2.5-inch laptop drive inside here, which goes inside this cartridge. Although the cartridge I often found was too small for all my drives. Now I've only got one official Raspberry Pi heatsink, which is inside my Raspad. So let's shut this down. I don't bother putting the screws in. So all of this can be disconnected, and it has been working really good in my Raspad. Even the SD card adapter, so this basically comes with an SD card adapter, which you can see here with this little ribbon cable attaches to the Pi 5. This works fine, and I've had questions about compatibility with SD card adapters, so we'll be trying this extension to see if it works. Oh, actually I was thinking it was going to be different in the Nespi case, but actually the Nespi case looks like it gives access to it through here anyway, so that looks like that's going to be okay. So let's unscrew these. I only used 2 screws. I figured that's all I needed in this case. And the Ethernet adapter comes out, and the little USB which transfers USB from here to all of these. And the SD card adapter coming out. There we go, so here is my Pi 5. This is my original, that's why I've got the O on it. This is the one I was sent early. So I'm hoping the SD card slot is in the same place. I'm pretty sure it is. So you can see the way it lines up, look. So obviously there is no headphone adapter on a Pi 5. Here are the 2 HDMI sockets. The USB-C isn't used in this case because it does it via a board, so you can see there's no USB-C slot there. Oh, we do have a problem, look, Ethernet-wise. My Ethernet adapter is in the way now, so that's actually something that has changed. There's a bit of board there. Not too much of a problem because I think it only handles the Ethernet bit. So this goes on here, like that. I guess if I use the screws that I had just now with the Raspad case, they'll probably fit. Again, I'll just use 2 just to keep it in place. Yeah, I didn't think about the Ethernet thing, although retro gaming wise you wouldn't be too worried about that. Now this is a USB 3 cable because I can see that it's blue. That needs to go in here, although that's pretty tight. Actually I'm going to have to unscrew that because I need to plug them in before I screw it back in place. So probably leave the GPIO pins in. So USB 3 and USB 2. Let's use the bottom one because I think it will give me more space. Oh, the USB 3 doesn't give me a lot of room. I guess it was meant, the USB 3 and USB 2 is in a different place. Or the power switch might be an issue because the power switch is here, look, which is possibly touching that plastic. I'm not sure if it is or not. I'm going to screw in these 2 screws to see if that holds it in place all right. Okay, they've both gone in, not tight, but they've gone in. I'm just going to tuck that there out the way. I think this is right for the GPIO pins. I'm just going to double check that they're on the right bit with the manual. In fact, there is a little sticker on here. Yeah, it is shown as being on the end. So let's go with that. So plenty of room for the cooler, which is excellent. And then, oh, I've also got the USB from this as well. So this must be this way around. And again, I want that on USB 3 for speed. I was thinking the other one was the drive. Okay, that's in place. Looking good. I'm not going to bother with screws at the moment. So the power is getting passed through the board, so it'll be interesting to see if that board can work with the Pi 5. To be fair, the Pi 4 adapter usually works, but once we start plugging in a drive, and I always used to use mechanical drives in the Nespi 4 because I think that was quite the appeal. One of these is 750 gig, which is quite a nice size. Right, let's get it plugged in. Let's shut this down. This is Retroarch running at the moment, which is thanks to KinecticEgg for sending me this, and the instructions how to get it to work in Ubuntu. So if I quit out of it, you can see that, well, I've actually quit out of the desktop interface, so I can launch Retroarch with this, and then it works very well, and it works with all sorts of systems. KinecticEgg sent me all the cores to put into it, and as you can see, I've got GameCube and Wii, Dreamcast, and so on. PS2 I haven't got, but it does show up on the system, but I haven't got the cores for it. But yeah, loads of things actually working very well in this. So thanks to KinecticEgg for that. He's got a video, I'll put a link in the description, showing it working. I'll probably delve a bit deeper into it as well, but for the moment I'm going to concentrate on this Nespi fit. So let's shut this down. Okay, so you can see I've got two USBs on the front here. I've plugged in my HDMI on the back and also my USB-C. Obviously there's no point in plugging in the Ethernet because I couldn't plug it in because the board was in the way. And I use my USB hub, but obviously you don't need to use that. But I've got a USB stick with some ROMs on it. I've got my controller plugged in here and my sound card as well. And the other one is the Dolphin bar, which is for light gun games. So let's see if this works. Using the official Pi 5 adapter, so if I power it on, nothing yet, but I have to power it on here as well. Okay, so no power at this stage. No, that's not a good start. Let's unplug it and have a look. This is probably something to do with the GPIO pin, so I'll have a look in the instruction book. So we've got a safe shutdown switch, which might help, which is where here. So let's turn that to off. And then let's plug that USB-C back in and see if that makes... Oh yeah, so the safe shutdown switch did something because we now have power. Although nothing on my monitor yet. But then I don't have an operating system. So let's pop the SD card in if that will fit. That seems to have gone in. Let's try the other HDMI socket because it's not clear as to which one's which. Have we got any lights on the Pi? Just worried about that power switch there. I think that might be making the difference. Oh, we've got a green light in the Pi. And actually it is that HDMI socket I should be using. Let's power it down and power it on again. Nothing yet. The only thing that's different is it's being powered differently, but I wouldn't have thought that would stop it from booting completely. So switching the safe shutdown definitely helped because it powers up now, but I've also switched to my Pi 4 adapter and that's also not working as well. So it definitely could be that switch. So let's switch this off, unscrew the Pi, which is still lit up. Why is it still lit up? It's definitely all switched off. It's gone off now. Oh, the SD card. That's what it is. Right, take the SD card out. Right, so let's try it like this. So go back to the Pi 5 adapter because I don't think the Pi 4 one made any difference. The HDMI is going to have to go into here for now. And I'll use the official power. Okay, so I've got a light come on and then went off straight away. Oh, that's because the power adapter's not switched on, so let's switch that on. The fan's definitely different and yeah, it's switching on now. So I've just popped the SD card in. Switch it off and on again. Okay, that's booting up. So it was that button being held in. So what I would need to do is get rid of the bit of plastic that's in the way of that. Nice. Just check that this is work. Yeah, so USB is working, so I've got my hub plugged into the front here. So these USB sockets are working. Well, I know one is. Let's just try the other one. I can't think that one would work and not the other. Oh, they reverse. So yeah, so that's working. So let's shut this down and I'll see if I can go about getting a little hole for the power button. It'd be quite nice to be able to turn it off, on and off with that power button, although we do have a power button on the front. So here's the button. So I need to make a little dot where that button is because I'm going to have to Dremel through there. And so if we look where it comes out, it goes a couple of mil down, and you can see that it's going to be up and above the SD card slot here. So let's make a hole. Looks all right, probably in the wrong place. So that's in place, and there's my button. So can I press it? Yeah, it presses and releases fine. USB 3 cable is a bit tight, but nothing to worry about. And now the screw holes line up fine, and you can see the button isn't being restricted in any way now. So let's pop these two back in. I'm going to do them at diagonals because that just feels a bit better. There we go, and the GPIO pins back on. Tuck this in here. Tuck the Ethernet down here. It's only plastic, so that's not going to harm anything. And what am I going to do? I'm going to put this back to on to see if that makes a difference. The safe shutdown, whether or not it means that that's usable or this takes over, we'll soon find out. USB-C. Again, going through that board, through the GPIO pins to power the Pi 5. I could always free up the USB-C socket at the back if I wanted to, which might be worthwhile for using a mechanical drive, but we'll see. And when I just press the button as I started that up. Although that's not in now. Well, let's see what happens. Is it going to start up? There's no OS. Let's turn it off. Oh, okay, so I don't have, so that switch doesn't do anything when it's like that, but the switch here probably does. So if I press and hold that, that turns it off. So then if I press that, that does turn it on. Interesting. Pop the SD card in. My mouse, keyboard, and everything else. Let's get rid of this Pi 4 adapter. And we're in. It was just that little button. Again, we have no Ethernet, but I have got Wi-Fi, so if I need to. Although how effective the Wi-Fi will be with this in place, because if there's a drive on the top of it, obviously that's going to be over. Oh, the Wi-Fi's no over to the side. Yeah, no, we'd probably be all right. I'll give it a try. So that's booted up. Let's shut it down and pop the lid on. Okay, so USB 3. Pop that on. Yeah, nothing's restricting that either. So that's working. So now I've just shut that down. I've just powered off. If I power on again, it doesn't start up. And reset. Okay. Let's try that safety switch. So now we have power. So if I go off and on again. Okay, so that started up. So let's shut that down and just test how the button works. So you can hear it's off. Well, I can hear it's off. I've got a red light on here, and I have a red light on the Pi at the back here. So the Pi still has power to it, but it's in standby mode. So now if I press the power off, that powers it off completely. And if I want to power it on, Yeah, the green light's come on, so now it's going to start to boot. Yeah, that's all I want it to do. Just to be able to turn it on and off with that power button is absolutely fine by me. So it means that you don't have to get to the main plug. Yeah, perfect. So that's working exactly as I want it to be. Let's try out this cable and see if it works with the adapter. So if you couldn't get to the SD card slot. So power down and unplug the SD card. Plug in the SD card adapter, so it must be that way round to mimic an SD. Oh, it's tight. I don't know if that's in or not. Let's give it a go. And so then I can put my SD card into here. It's got a little push eject option on it. So turn off and turn on again. And is it going to boot from the SD card in here? Blue lights come on. I think it's booting. No, failed to open boot device. Okay, so this SD card extender, which I found a little bit sketchy on the Pi 4, isn't booting with my Pi 5. It might be the case, might be the fit. So let's just switch that off and try it with just a bare Pi. And it is booting Ubuntu, albeit very slowly. So it definitely boots up quicker than that normally. So apparently there's been some reports of SD extenders not working that great. As I said before, the Raspad one I've got works absolutely fine. It definitely works. It's only a very short cable. Okay, let's get back to the Nespi case, but I think that proves that yeah, it's just too slow. So I've got Recalbox on this SD card, so let's pop it in the Pi. And this drive is set up for Recalbox. It's got well, it's a 500 gig drive. I think there's about 300 gig of ROMs on there. Now, there's a way of getting the drive to go in this. Oh no, that was all right. You have to kind of elevate it because I'm not using it in this adapter because the drive is too thick, but it works on its own. I'm trying to do a more minimal setup, so let's just plug in the controller. This is my Xbox 360 adapter, and a mouse and keyboard we probably won't need, but let's plug it in anyway. So power that up. Okay, the blue lights come on, so it's booting up. Recalbox 9.2. Let's see if it sees all the ROMs on that drive. Yeah, it does look like there's a load of things on here. So if I try Game Boy Advance, no, it doesn't look like it's picked that up. N64. No, I would say it hasn't picked it up. These are the ones that I've put on the unit. Do I need to tell it to use the USB stick? Somewhere there's an option. Is it under System? Disk Usage? Storage Device. Here we go. Internal, any external device. And then it picks up my 500 gig drive. So now reboot. Okay. And I heard my Pi go off. Sounds like it's rebooting. I haven't had to press the button or anything. Now it might take a bit longer to boot up because obviously there's so many ROMs. Creating share space, please wait. I've had no power warnings or anything yet, which is good. Okay, so that setting managed to wipe the drive and create all the folder formats for Recalbox, which was already on there, so I obviously pressed something wrong. But what I've done is copied some ROMs back on. So Super Nintendo I've done. So we click on that, you can see that obviously there's a load of duplicates on here, which would need some housekeeping on it. But if I flick through, you can see there are loads and loads of games on here. And if I hold down, it will start flicking through much quicker. So what, Super Nintendo, let's go for Sunset Riders. Here we go. And it's got the artwork on there. Yeah, that was working absolutely fine. Actually, I have got Retropie on a hard disk. Let's see if that one works. So my Retropie one is working as well. And this is a different theme I was playing around with. This is my 64-bit Retropie from the separate video that I made. And it's actually had a few updates now, and I think it's working a bit better. So if we try, for instance, something like Game Gear, just to show that, yeah, it's picked up loads and loads of ROMs on that mechanical hard drive. But if I quit back out of that and try something a bit more impressive, so something like Dreamcast. And what have we got on here? So it's got all the games and everything. This was basically Damaso's build on Raspberry Pi 4, and I just transferred all the ROMs over to a mechanical drive, and it's been working great. I've been using it on my Pi 4, and I'm now using it on the Pi 5, obviously. Let's try a bit of this Cannon Spike. Oh, it's more 3D than I was thinking it was going to be. Only it's on a hoverboard. What? Stay away from the big guy. Oh, and he's got some spikes that come out of him as well. This is quite cool. Dreamcast was a good system. Okay, so let's quit out of that. So really good to see all the videos and everything transferred over. And we can see Dave Mirror Freestyle BMX showing up there, although no video, which is a shame. Oh, that's probably because I added it but didn't add the video, whereas Damaso put everything in. Really makes these incredibly polished. But when I changed the theme, I just went to UI settings and theme settings. I downloaded some other themes, so I've got a few different ones in here, so like Retrorama. So if we go back, that will change the theme to something a bit different. As you can see, a very nice theme. All the artwork is really lovely on it. And when you click into a system, then it shows all the ROMs. And again, we've got the videos playing as well. So let's just quit out of this because I did have to do one change to get this working. So if I go back to the terminal and sudo nano /boot/config.txt. So you can see here USB_max_current enable equals 1. You need to add that line if you're using USB boot but without an official Raspberry Pi 5 adapter. Now I am using a Raspberry Pi 5 adapter, but through the Nespi case it's obviously using a different power supply to power the Pi, so indirectly it's using the Raspberry Pi power adapter. So you need to add that line for it to be able to boot, and then just do Control X and yes and enter. And then you just launch Retropie or Emulation Station, and you can see it works absolutely fine. So I'm super pleased that this is working with the mechanical drive, and I've managed to get it to work in an older case. I hope this helps. Thanks very much for watching. Please like and subscribe.